a tired king, a teenage queen, and a letter no one was meant to read. One morning at Hampton Court, Henry VIII finds a warning slipped behind a chapel screen, claims that his new wife, Kathryn Howard, is not the spotless rose the court sold him. Investigators fan out. Servants whisper. Another letter surfaces, in Kathryn's own hand, hinting at secret meetings with a favored gentleman of the chamber. By winter, the palace becomes a crime scene. Friends turn witnesses. The law itself will be rewritten to make sure this never happens again. In the next minutes, you'll see what really doomed Kathryn. Her past in a chaotic household, her choices at court, and a king's need to control the story. Born around 1523 to 24 to Lord Edmund Howard and Joyce, Jocasta Culpeper, Kathryn lost her mother young and was sent to her step-grandmother Agnes Tilney, Dowager Duchess of Norfolk. She grew up between Chesworth House, Sussex, and Norfolk House at Lambeth. Big rooms, shared beds, lax oversight. Music lessons doubled as flirting practice. Her tutor, Henry Mannix, pushed boundaries. Later, Francis Dereham treated Kathryn like a fiancée. Those episodes would follow her to court. Names, jokes, even keepsakes lingered. Ammunition for rivals years later. In a moment, you'll see how a king's marriage to a bright, affectionate teenager collided with factional politics, and why that past became lethal. Henry's brief marriage to Anne of Cleves was annulled on the 9th of July, 1540. By the 28th of July, his chief minister Thomas Cromwell was on the scaffold, and Henry married Kathryn Howard the same day at Oatlands. Public recognition as queen followed on the 8th of August. The Howards, led by the conservative Duke of Norfolk, suddenly had momentum at court, while reformers regrouped. The king himself was nearly 50, heavier, and managing chronic leg ulcers, craving comfort and celebration more than policy fights. Kathryn's youth and charm seemed like a cure for a joyless court. In a moment, you'll see how that rush into romance set the stage for disaster. Kathryn steps into queenship like a spotlight, new gowns, late-night masks, and a household stacked with Howard allies. She leans into charm. Petitions granted, favors asked, a queen who dances, sings, and makes the aging king feel young. Jane Boleyn, Lady Rochford, becomes a close fixer, smoothing access and messages. At court games and hunts, one name keeps circling her orbit: Thomas Culpeper of the Privy Chamber. Magnetic, trusted by the king, hard to ignore. This glittering routine builds a public image of innocence and joy. In a moment, you'll see how private history, from a noisy Lambeth dormitory, starts to seep through the cracks. History came back to haunt her. The names Henry Mannix and Francis Dereham, men she had known as a teenager in the Duchess of Norfolk's chaotic household, were suddenly on everyone's lips again. Mannix, the music tutor who had overstepped. Dereham, the young man who claimed her as if they were already bound. In 1541, those names came back to haunt her. John Lascelles said his sister had seen things at Lambeth and urged Archbishop Thomas Cranmer to act. The Howard enemies finally had something sharp to hold. Cranmer moved quietly. No scenes, no shouting, just paper. He chose a private warning to the king, one note that would turn whisper into investigation. Archbishop Thomas Cranmer chose paper over confrontation. He wrote a quiet note and had it placed where the king would find it, at Hampton Court, out of sight, but impossible to ignore. The message was simple and cold: serious claims about the Queen's past and maybe her present. At first, Henry VIII refused to believe it. He ordered a discreet check. Courtiers were questioned apart. Doors began to shut. servants traded nervous looks. When names like Manox and Dereham came up, the king's doubt turned into orders. Search chests, seize letters, take statements. A later legend claims Kathryn ran along the haunted gallery to plead with the king. Maybe. What's certain is this. After Cranmer's note, Kathryn's world shrank to a guarded room and a growing file of evidence she couldn't control. Quick pause. If you're into deep dives like this, please subscribe and hit the bell. We're on a journey to 1,000 subscribers. Can you help us get there? Thank you. Now back to the story. With the rumor now official business, every movement mattered. Witnesses said Thomas Culpeper met Kathryn late at night on progress. Doors watched by Lady Rochford, who knew the corridors and the staff who would look away. These weren't hallway chats. They were planned, quiet, and risky. Then came the paper. Investigators found a letter in Kathryn's own hand to Culpeper. Breathless, needy, not the language of a distant queen. Whether it proves adultery is still debated. What it did prove was intimacy, intent, and terrible judgment. In a court built on appearances, the letter was a gift to prosecutors. It made motive visible. It made meetings sound like more than talk. From then on, questions got sharper, and the circle around Kathryn started to break. The council moved fast. Francis Dereham and Thomas Culpeper were questioned apart. Then again, each time with fewer friendly faces in the room. Accounts differ, but the pattern is clear. Dereham spoke of past intimacy with Kathryn at Lambeth and said he joined her household after the wedding. Culpeper admitted to secret meetings and, by one report, intended to do ill with the Queen. Neither man could make the paper trail disappear. Trials followed. Juries didn't take long. Verdicts: high treason. In December 1541, the sentences were carried out at Tyburn. Culpeper, favoured, was beheaded. Dereham suffered the full traitor's death. The message was plain. Whatever happened in those rooms, the Crown called it betrayal. Kathryn, meanwhile, was kept under guard, listening for news that only grew worse. Next, you'll see how her world narrowed to two addresses, Sion and the Tower. Kathryn was moved to Sion House on the 14th of November 1541, a royal limbo with guards at the door. Later that month, she was stripped of her title as Queen. Records differ by a day, but the effect was the same. Visitors were controlled. News arrived in careful doses. Parliament did the rest. A bill of attainder named Kathryn and Jane Boleyn. Lady Rochford, guilty of treason without a trial, and, crucially, set a new rule. A future queen who hid a sexual past could be charged with treason. Henry didn't even show to approve it. Commissioners gave royal assent in his place. On the 10th of February 1542, Kathryn was taken by barge to the Tower of London. The river was quiet. The ending was not. Just after dawn, guards brought Kathryn to the scaffold inside the tower. No crowds, only officials and witnesses. She gave the expected short speech, asked mercy, admitted fault, praised the king. No romance, no final confession to anyone. She knelt. The block was close. One stroke ended it. Kathryn Howard was about 19. Her body was laid to rest in the chapel of St. Peter at Vincula, steps from the Green, among others who crossed this king. The court moved on. The story didn't. The Crown didn't just punish people, it rewrote rules. In 1542, Parliament made it treason for a future queen to hide a sexual past from the king, or for anyone to keep quiet about it. Courtiers learned the lesson. If you hear a rumor, report it, or risk your neck. Households tightened. Chaperonage hardened. Henry's image makers went to work. He was the wronged husband, steady and merciful until forced to act. Kathryn became a cautionary tale, light, foolish, unworthy. Over time, ghosts did their part. Hampton Court's dim corridor picked up a name: the Haunted Gallery. The law outlived them. So did the story. Next, let's separate myth from record. Let's clear a few things. The line "a rose without a thorn" is a later tag, not a firm contemporary quote. Good story, weak evidence. Her famous last words, "I die a queen, but would rather die the wife of Culpeper," read like theatre. No reliable source from 1542 records them. Her age, likely born 1523 to 24, making her about 19 at death, not mid-20s. There's also consent. With Manox and Dereham, Kathryn was a teenager in a house where adults held power. Modern historians flag coercion and pressure. With Culpeper, the late-night meetings happened. Whether they crossed the line is disputed. The Haunted Gallery dash. Legend. The paper trail, not the ghost story, sealed her fate. Kathryn's fall isn't just a Tudor tragedy. It shows how power polices intimacy and how gossip, paperwork, and fear can decide a life. A teenage girl's past, shaped in a household with weak boundaries, became a weapon in court politics. A king's need for control turned mistakes into treason. New laws taught everyone to inform or be punished. We still live with versions of this: public shaming, retroactive judgment, and institutions that rewrite rules after a scandal. Kathryn's story asks a hard question. When the state claims your private life, who gets hurt first? Usually the young, the isolated, and the easy to blame. Thanks for watching this Tudor deep dive. If this helped you see Kathryn Howard's story in a sharper light, please subscribe. It really helps. We're on a journey to 1,000 subscribers, and every click moves us closer. Can you help us get there? Drop a comment with your take on the Culpeper letter and check the next video on Anne Boleyn's last days right here.